It's never been more exhausting being a healthcare worker than it is right now. And if you were to take a break, what would you do? I'm going to share my story of taking a 2-year sabbatical from healthcare and my dietitian career, and how I did a complete 180 and ultimately found work-life balance. Hey folks, I'm Amy Hager, a registered dietitian in private practice, and welcome to my channel where I share tips about self-employment as a dietitian. Feel free to subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Today's video is about finding a possible solution to healthcare burnout. I know all of my fellow dietitians working in the healthcare system are feeling the squeeze right now. Increasing workloads are matched with less help and no increase in salary. I've heard stories of managers losing employees and then having to fill in the gaps themselves. I've listened to RDs taking on 70-hour work weeks, working on the weekends, through holidays, and never able to really shut off. The emails, the phone calls, it's constant. Not ever able to really close that laptop. So it seems like a trap. On one hand, you are valuable, indispensable, part of the system, but also it feels like you're being taken advantage of. You need the paycheck and the benefits. However, you don't really feel like you're being paid what you're worth, and you're desperately craving for things to be different. To have more time with your family, to have the weekends completely free, but you can't really imagine a world where that is possible, especially the way that the job market is today. You're not really ready to retire, so that's not an option, but you feel like if you don't get a break soon, you're not sure if you're going to be able to keep your mental health afloat. You never mind your physical health, which has taken the backseat for years since you've been working so much. Is this sounding familiar? In the past year, I've interviewed over 100 healthcare workers, including multiple dietitians and nurses, who are feeling that burnout and are looking for options of how to alleviate it. Some people are dropping out of the workforce completely, some are retiring early, and some are even switching careers. But most of the people I've talked to, they've devoted so much time into their profession that they're not really ready to close the doors just yet. In this case, I think there is another option that isn't really talked about. It's that concept of taking a sabbatical. If you're already familiar with the concept of sabbaticals, you're likely saying, yeah, that's great for folks that are in academia, but it's not really an option for me. And that's true. There's, just a handful of professions that actually include paid leave for an extended period of time, but the options don't really end there. Consider for a minute what it might be like if you were to take an entire break from your work for a long period of time to do what you wanted, or perhaps give yourself that needed complete break from the demands of your career. Could you imagine an entirely new lifestyle, even if it was just for 6 months? What would it be worth to you if you could have all of the time that you needed to get adequate sleep, have time to prepare nourishing meals, exercise the way that you want to, spend time with the family without any bounds, and explore any creative interests that may have been indefinitely shelved for the duration of your career? The idea of sabbatical is that you're taking an extended break to rejuvenate and explore interests outside of work, finding that balance outside of career without the risk of losing employment, thus allowing the individual to recommit to their profession when they end their sabbatical and they go back to their work. So sabbatical provides an extended physical and mental recess. It does wonders for your spirit, and it's more than just a simple vacation can provide. A lot of times we go on vacation and we end up more stressed by the end of it because there's so much involved. There's no quitting your career or retiring early. It's just that opportunity to wholly commit to personal rejuvenation and embrace fulfillment outside of work. So, the question is, how does an individual go about taking a sabbatical? Good question. Although the concept is widely accepted in academic and religious circles or careers, your manager might look at you funny if you were to ask for sabbatical leave. It's not really written into healthcare contracts often or discussed in job interviews. So what then? You might find that you have a natural break in your career when it aligns with maybe a personal event such as moving far away, birth of a child, an illness, or termination of a particular position. Those are kind of natural breaks that give you a new beginning. Those are all great launching points to put a career on pause, to reevaluate without undue pressure and enjoy something else for a while. But depending on the relationship you have with your manager, you could try having a discussion about taking an extended leave. Would your position still be available after a year? If not, what else could be available to you? Are there more opportunities? I think now more than ever, there's a lot of openings in healthcare, and they definitely offer a lot more flexibility than what we're used to. Some include working from home, and some even could be related to self-employment, depending on your position. So this is where my story intersects. I grew weary of working in a large organization, and I had a heart-to-heart with my manager. This was about after 10 years working as a dietitian. And I shared with her my intent that I wanted to leave. I wanted to do my own thing, and I was also preparing for a personal break that me and my husband were going to be moving across country. So there was a planned break, and I shared that with my manager. The date was indefinite, though. It was depending on if he was going to secure some work. But she knew I was serious about it. She knew that I was really ready to leave the position. But I wasn't about to burn bridges. I didn't want to just quit on the spot. I wanted to see what I could work out. So we decided to drop my hours down to part-time, and that gave me a huge break because it gave me a lot more time to spend time on new skills. I learned how to bill insurance, how to pick up clients in private practice. And then I also spent time on hobbies that were really interesting to me, like making jewelry and beekeeping. So within a year, my husband and I did move across the country to build a home in the mountains. And this began my official sabbatical. I was no longer working as a dietitian in any capacity. I was no longer seeing private practice clients. I wasn't doing any kind of talks or anything nutrition related at all. However, what I did do during these 2 years was I began taking my new skills that I had learned, and I started earning money selling jewelry at special events and even in some local stores. So while I wasn't really putting money away into any type of IRA account, I was making enough to buy groceries and pay bills. So it gave me a whole new outlook of who I was and what I was made of. I felt creative and free and completely in control of my life. And, like I got to make the decisions. Like it wasn't my job that was running my life. I was choosing. Eventually, after a couple of years, I had that yearning to go back into nutrition, particularly nutrition counseling. So I was no longer interested in being a full-time artist. I kind of had spent that energy and had that nice mental break and career break. And I felt like I had knowledge and skills that I was excited to put to good use again in nutrition counseling. So my new iteration of working as a dietitian was completely different. So I was counseling clients working from home and instead of commuting, and that put a whole nother spin on it as well because the commute used to really drain me in my old job, and now I was just working from home and it was so much easier. There was so much ease to it. And working for a large organization, that was no longer an issue. I was working for a small company and then eventually went back into private practice and just worked on telehealth only. I still felt like I had complete control over my career and my personal life, and now feel like I have that just the right balance, that sweet spot, that little Goldilocks balance between personal life and career. We all imagine that might be a possibility, and I just feel like that's where I'm at now. So if you're feeling like you're at the end of your rope in your career, burning the candle on both ends, wanting some relief, consider that concept of a sabbatical, whether or not it's something you can manage in your current position, or if it's something that you can put into place. Give yourself some time to think about what the next step is and then go back to your career. It's not like your career is going to disappear. There's plenty of work available in healthcare, but continuing on the way you're going is just not sustainable. If you're watching this video, you're probably feeling it. And I know everyone's in different situations financially. I think what made it work for me was that I had a good amount of savings saved up, so I had that buffer. I also cut back extremely on my expenses. I no longer got my hair dyed every time I went to the hair salon. I cut back on buying clothing. I cut back on a lot of entertainment expenses and groceries, cut back on dining out. So there was a lot of cutbacks that came with moving across country and building a house. And so that allowed me to just use the money that I was making from my jewelry to do the bare essentials like groceries and bills. And that was enough for a while to just take that break. It was worth having a big decrease in income just for that relief and sanity. So definitely think about that. I also had a spouse that was still working, so we had another source of income for our home building projects. So that I know is another situation that's unique to every individual. You may or may not have a secondary income coming in, but you also might have another way to earn money from hobbies or some other type of work that is not related to your career. But I would love to hear from you guys. If you feel like that concept of taking a sabbatical is on your mind, please drop me a comment. I'm actually working on a whole program right now that is related to how to take a sabbatical. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely drop a comment below. But if you've already taken a sabbatical, I'd love to hear how it went. And if you're really thinking about a career change or doing something more self-employment directed, I'd love to hear your feedback. But folks, hopefully this gave you some food for thought and really some options as far as what you might be able to do when you're feeling that burnout from working in healthcare. I know it's just critical right now. A lot of us are feeling it. A lot of people are at their wits' end and wondering what options are there. So definitely consider the sabbatical, whether it's a 6-month or even a 2-year sabbatical. If that's something you can swing, it is something that it completely will change your outlook on your career and probably rejuvenate for the better. All right, guys, take care and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to catch the latest video here. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos on private practice and being self-employed as a dietitian.